Welcome to this tutorial on multitrack export and playback in HoloEdit 2020.3. With the addition of multitrack export, you can take different volumetric clips and combine them into one neatly packaged OMS. Using Multitrack OMS, we can offer greater compression and simultaneous playback of multiple tracks. Multitrack playback is currently supported in Unity, with targets for streaming and Unreal coming soon. Familiarity with HoloEdit navigation and basic terminology is recommended for this tutorial. If you'd like to follow along, you can use the multitrack workflow provided with the HoloSuite training material release notes for 2020.3. Included in the example material is a HoloEdit workspace with one composition to follow along and one with a completed version of the project for reference. The clips we will be using in the video are also included and are named Clip 1 and Clip 2. We've also provided a Unity package containing a scene to follow along with, as well as a completed scene to use for reference. Let's jump into HoloEdit. We'll start by loading the provided training workspace, and then we'll open the composition named Import. This composition will come with Clip 1 loaded and ready for export. Next, we'll import Clip 2. We'll click Make Clip beside Clip 2, as it's already located inside of our workspace. The second clip has already had stabilization applied to it, so we'll make sure to enable Detect Stabilization. Additionally, we will enable Calculate Normals so we have the option to apply lighting in the future. Next, we'll add our second clip to the composition as a new track, and hit play to view our clips in the viewport together. In HoloEdit 2020.3, it's necessary to ensure that the clips are the same length for proper multitrack playback in external software, which means our clip can only be as long as our shortest clip. The final frame on Clip 1 is frame 259, so that will be our limiting factor. When processing a clip with stabilization, it's important to note where the segment lines are. You can see that frame 259 is the final frame for our first clip, and it ends halfway through a segment on the second clip. After watching the playback, we can note that the second clip cuts through the first clip just a little bit. Let's reposition our second clip to prevent that. We can make adjustments to the transforms of each individual track here in HoloEdit before export. We'll click on the title of the second track, and using the inspector, adjust the X position to -0.25. Now when we hit play, we don't have any clipping between the different tracks. We'll make sure our composition is compressed before export. The first track already has SSDR applied, but we still need to add SSDR to Clip 2. Let's create an SSDR stage for the Clip 2 track now. Next, we'll create a new interval from the beginning of our clip to the final frame of the segment that encompasses the final frame of our first clip. That's frame 297. SSDR only runs on whole segments in HoloEdit 2020.3. So we'll need to go all the way to frame 297 to capture the frame range we want to export, which is 0 to 259. We'll adjust the SSDR bone count to 16. A value of 16 bones should be plenty to capture the surface and level of action in this clip's segments. With the 2020.3 version of the OMS player, the maximum number of SSDR bones that can be played back in a single OMS is 128. So it's important to be aware of how many bones have been used between all of the tracks you plan to include in a multitrack OMS. We can check Clip 1 and see that SSDR was run with 32 bones, so we still have plenty of resources to work with. This composition is looking pretty good, but it could use a little bit more action. So why don't we add a different frame range from Clip 2 into the composition as a third track? We'll click and drag the clip from the composition again. But this time, let's pick a frame range where our little actor has a bit more motion. If we watch to the end of the clip, you can see them start to walk off, away from the capture. We'll use a portion that includes a bit of that walk. Let's start at the beginning of the segment. We'll choose frame 471, then pull the left handles on the Load Asset stage to frame 471, then drag the clip back to align with frame 0 so that they all have the same starting point. Playing through the timeline, we can see that once again, the newly added track cuts through our central actor and the earlier portion of the clip. Using the Translate and Rotate tools, let's move him over to the other side of our actor. If we wanted to test things out or didn't have a specific location in mind, we could press the W hotkey for translate. This brings up a gizmo in the viewport that will allow us to move them to the opposite side. We have a pretty good idea where we want the clip to be, on the opposite side. First, we'll click on the track's title and set the rotation using the inspector. We'll rotate on the y-axis. Let's set the central field to 150. For now, we'll try using the Translate gizmo to move it around interactively. Now that we have a general idea of where we want the clip to be positioned, let's round the location to 0.1, 0.1 using the inspector. We'll need to create an SSDR stage for this track as well. Adjusting the bone count to 16, select and execute both. We'll come back in the next video when these have finished processing.